think it's supposed to be like more people running around. Maybe I'm imagining too big.
Double kill.
Yeah, Frost.
Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the different defensive slots that you can use on your Liberator. This is a rather interesting slot because it would seem like all of the options are well balanced to have their own uses, and technically you would be right. But as in most cases about defensive slot in Planetside 2, it really just comes down to auto repair means I don't have to get out and repair, and since I'm a lazy slob, that's what I'm going to use. But fear not, that lazy slob boat you're riding because you're too lazy to swim is populated by most everyone who flies Liberators, so you're in good, if somewhat lazy company. On that note though, let's talk about why you should consider not being a lazy slob and running one of the other slots. Your first option for the defensive slot is Composite Armor. Composite Armor will only cost you 630 certs to max out, and it will resist the damage from flak by 10%, light tank rounds by 25%, heavy tank rounds by 30%, and Dalton splash damage by 50%. What this means is that if you have a lot of trouble dying to things like flak, tank rounds, or Dalton Liberators, Composite Armor might be for you, assuming you don't mind getting out and taking the risk of that random VS sniper putting a laser through your head. Pro tip: always strafe while repairing your Liberator. When do I run Composite Armor, and how do I use it? Well, first off, I almost always run it with fire suppression. Why? Because I am the quintessential lazy slob, and the heal on demand of fire suppression means that as long as I keep my damage to a minimum, I can continue to be lazy and just throw some fire suppression on every once in a while to heal the damage I've taken. Typically I use it while running a Shredder Liberator because nothing gives me the jollies more than tanking Dalton rounds and laughing merrily while my Shredder Gunner tears apart Dalton Liberators. With maximum rank Composite Armor and fire suppression, the damage from one Dalton round can be almost completely negated by using fire suppression just one time. This also applies to AP tank rounds and will allow you to laugh merrily at the poor AP Vanguard while you face tank AP rounds and let your walker slowly whittle them down for the most humiliating of deaths. All that being said, Composite Armor right now is a bit overpowered and probably needs to be toned down to allowing you to survive only one more Dalton or AP round at max rank. But until then, if you don't mind landing for repairs, or you can keep your damage to a minimum and use fire suppression, Composite Armor is a great option to cut down on the damage you take from pretty much every high alpha damage weapon in the game. Option number 2 is Vehicle Stealth. Vehicle Stealth increases lock time by 1 second at maximum rank, and it makes it so that your Liberator will not auto-appear on enemy minimaps. All the ranks leading up to it simply decrease the distance that you're auto-spotted, and if you're going to run it, I would wait until you get it up to the max rank. Unfortunately, while the first 3 ranks only cost 330 certs total, rank 4 is 1000, which makes it very prohibitively expensive for all but the most dedicated Ninja Liberator pilots. It is a nice option to have for sneaking around, but since I've found that the average Planetside 2 player has the situational awareness of a frog in a coma, it's rarely worth running, and you're likely better off with comp armor or auto repair. The increased lock time is also barely noticeable and gets broken fairly routinely by updates, so you can rarely rely on it to actually work. All that being said, the same basic rules apply to running stealth as for running comp armor. It couples very well with fire suppression if you enjoy being lazy and can keep the amount of damage you take to a minimum. And if you find that you take a lot of damage all the time, even with vehicle stealth, you should probably just stop running it because you're clearly about as stealthy as a rampaging T-Rex. With pots for feet. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's talk Nanite Auto Repair. Sadly, this gem of an ability was recently nerfed by SOE because reasons. However, it still remains very useful. It's fairly cheap to rank up and will only cost you 336 to get to rank 3, but an extra 500 to get to the final rank. Pre-nerf, each rank reduced how long it takes to kick in, but now it takes 12 seconds to start healing at all ranks, and the only advantage to ranking it up is the amount of heals per second you get. With that in mind, for a poor man's Liberator, get rank 1 or 2 and then leave it there until you have other things finished off. The advantages of auto repair are that you rarely have to land to repair damage regardless of whether you have fire suppression, and that... Alright, that's really the only advantage. The disadvantage is that it doesn't really provide you any direct increase in effectiveness in combat situations, and it's more of a good overall choice that you'll always get use out of, and it can occasionally help you out in longer group fights where you don't have time to land in between targets. With all that out of the way, what is the right choice for you? If you're new to flying Liberators, I would actually suggest trying out composite armor first. It's very cheap to get up to rank 3 and will give you a lot of help with surviving. In addition, if you're new, you haven't become spoiled by auto repair, so you won't know what you're missing when you don't have it. I actually started out Liberators flying with stealth and fire suppression back when fire suppression only suppressed fire, and it wasn't a big deal landing a lot to repair because I didn't know any different. However, once you start running auto repair a lot, you get lazy and your feet get soft, which makes switching back to having to land and repair that much more difficult. Either way, the defensive slot options are actually all quite viable depending on how you play. Composite armor is a bit overpowered, but that's a discussion for another day. Your choice will depend mostly on your playstyle and how much of a lazy slob you are, and it's really just something you have to play around with a little bit to figure out. If you have a friend that has a maxed out Liberator, have them pull you a couple different loadouts, fly around with it, see what you like. You can't really go wrong with any option though. I probably wouldn't recommend stealth to a new pilot, however, since it requires a very specific style of flying to really be useful. Hopefully this video was helpful, or at the very least entertaining and not a complete waste of time. In either case, go forth my children, and liberate Araxos.
Another one's on us.
I think I just went to full pro mode. I'm in the middle of a field with a jackhammer.
Yeah, my bar. Oh! Can you do it?